Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I have my co host.
Well, good evening and wonderful day it is. It's so good to be with you, Dr. Val, on this beautiful Tuesday. The weather is nice in our area. But then on top of that, you know what? We are enjoying here the first Tuesday in this month of December. The year is almost out. This is crunch time for a lot of people. It's crunch time emotionally. It's crunch time financially. It's crunch time
Hmm.
mentally. And one of the things that continue to be on the top of people's mind is relationships, and it's going through this holiday period brings about this whole sense of if you ever felt lonely and you don't have anybody, you're lonely now. If you ever felt this sense of boy, I just wish it is this time now, and yet it's still we talked about the fact that how sometimes holidays can be an artificial construct that may cause people to get in relationships for the wrong reason or with the wrong motive and those type things. And so, I'm excited because the fact I don't think we could ever exhaust knowledge about relationships. I don't. I think it's always an evolving subject matter, and I'm excited. I've learned so much from you over the years, and we've had so many shows together. And I mean, you've had people in from everywhere, and it's always very good. And we hope the audience tonight, as they're listening, that they'll feel free to put their comments in or the comments or question there in the comment box, because we do believe that we're equipped tonight to really dive into this.
Well, before we start the show, I must give reverence to the late Miss Carrie Meek. She was a former
Yeah,
congresswoman here in the Miami area. She started her career in at 66 years old. Do you believe
right.
that? Talking about purpose never dies.
Wow,
66 years old, and she passed away at 95. And she
wow.
was one of the trailblazers, one of the first Black women from South Florida to serve in Congress. And then after that, Alcee Hastings and Corrine Brown, 1993. So I am so happy that I did get a chance to meet her and talk about greatness and the legacy she leaves behind, and which is what we should all aspire to do. It has been said that we should be ashamed to die until we've made a contribution to mankind. And that's what I'm striving for by watching individuals like former Congresswoman Carrie Meek.
I remember her, such a strong woman, a very bold woman, a woman who was not afraid to speak her mind, and she stood up for what she believed. And
Yes,
for her, her brand of politics was not playing the game. Her brand of politics was actually speaking the truth and let the truth lie where it may. And definitely she's missed. She is a trailblazer. It is the Carrie Meeks that have laid the groundwork for so many others since that.
yes,
So we stand on her shoulders, and we definitely we salute her, and definitely our condolences go out to her family and friends. But
yes.
South Florida definitely has lost a giant.
Yes, they have. A legend. And today's another special day. It's my son Daniel Parker's birthday. Happy birthday, Daniel.
Yes, I wish him happy birthday on Facebook, and I can't do nothing but smile when I look at them, having known them since they were small little kids, and seeing the affluent young man that he is now. I mean, it blesses my heart to see how they've grown up to become not only just model citizens, but achievers and great fathers, and it blesses me. So happy birthday goes out to Daniel again.
Yes, indeed. That's my baby boy. But I'm so excited also about this topic. We're in the holiday season and everybody gets thirsty for
Yes.
love in the holiday season. They,
Mhm.
people allow themselves to be manipulated and abused mentally and emotionally during this season just for the sake of saying they're in a relationship. But what type of relationship do you want to have? What are the expectations of love? This is what the
Yes.
topic is about, and you have some guests that we're bringing on so you can expound on them, Dr. J.
Well, you know what? What is so amazing about the guests that I'm about to bring on? They have no idea how much I admire them. They have no idea how much I've watched them from afar. And I've watched them just live their life. Now, I've watched them in being deliberate and intentional inside of how they navigate. And they most recently have started doing live media type things, really, really exposing and talking more about relationship. And so we're honored tonight to have with us Jason and Rhonda Turner. I mean, they are what I call today really, it's that couple who don't look to boast about where they are, but they live every day, one day at a time. They've been married 23 years. And I tell you something, they have never heard me say this about them. But this is a great testimony. It's because the fact people admire you from afar. They watch you from afar and find themselves going, man, I like those guys. I like what they stand for. I like the way they navigate. And I have to tell Jason for the first time, listen, man, I watch you from afar, and I love the way that you are, because some men think that in order to be leaders, and be Mr. Machismo, they got to carry all, but you walk with the confidence about who you are, and yet it's still that confidence has a great strand of humility that's about it. And so I welcome you and your beautiful wife on today. Welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm gonna have to have you do that every time you get on the mic. That's all right there.
Thank you all for the invite. So
I'm so delighted for you all to join us. I really am excited about you because, as I said, there's so many people especially during the holiday season, that get thirsty and they take any kind of mental, physical abuse just to say they have someone to take to Christmas dinner or to share with their family because they haven't seen their family all year. But they take the humiliation of being verbally abused sometimes just to say, I have somebody with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And go ahead, Dr. Thickman.
No, I was just about to say, and one of the things that I've known from afar with you guys, relationship is serious for you. You make no bones about saying, well, here's the perfect relationship and it's going to be sunny every day. But the thing that I think that has blessed me and blessed people that follow you is the fact that there's a transparency about you, and there's a knowing that, hey, we are only this far by the grace of God. Please understand that there was no special prize in the Cracker Jack box. There was there was no fortune cookie there with your Chinese meal that gave you this. It's a day by day thing. So please elaborate, because relationship, some people say relationship isn't work. I dare to I differ. I think relationship is work. I think relationship always work. But I turn it over to you, you all, and share with us. You guys have an incredible story, incredible journey, and we'd like to hear more about it.
I want to know how y'all met.
Look at there. See that she wants to know.
Let's start from the beginning. How did y'all meet?
You want to tell that story?
It's a setup, Jason. Anytime the woman say you want to tell that story, it's a setup, because she's gonna remember something you didn't.
It's always different, but
this story, it comes with a little. Everybody has their version. Put it that way. My version was one way. She seems to interpret her version another way. But we were out hanging out, clubbing, out one night, and that's where we met. Actually, out in the club.
What? So you mean to tell me if you meet in the club, you can actually stay together after the club?
It took a lot of work.
Hey, Dr. Thinkley, God will use anything, won't he?
Absolutely, right.
You out wherever you at to come on home. And
to be honest, that was my first time back in the club after like 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
First time. So I've always said he put me there to bring him out. So
wow,
that's the way I looked at it back then.
Wow.
That'll
work there, right? He put me there he had to bring him out. I like that.
To bring him out.
Everybody had their version, Dr.
I mean,
don't fall for it. Don't do it.
I was 25, he was 23. So
wow.
But yeah, that's where we met at. it was an interesting journey. Like she said, she was 25, a lot more established in life and in responsibility and the things she had to do. And it just kind of helped me kind of ground myself a little bit. Just realizing that at some point in time in this journey, you know, when you find somebody that's willing to grind with you, to really deal with you, you know, you have to stick with that. Like I tell a lot of young ladies, when you're in relationships and sometimes when you're dealing with a man, patience is a great thing when you're dealing with us. When you see that potential, when you see in him the value that you want in a man, and sometimes you see the other side, he just ain't quite got there yet. You just continue to mold him, continue to believe in him, continue to just be patient with him, and at the end you may get the man that you were desiring all along. He may have always been there. You just, you know, sometimes we give up so quick. You know, he ain't acting right. I'm gonna go find me another one. You know, that's the problem we find with marriages. People get into these marriages and relationships without clauses. You know, they put in that.
I like that.
I can escape. You know, if it don't work, I just get a divorce. But that's not how marriage is designed. That's not the purpose of it. If you listen to those vows don't have an escape clause in it. It says to death. You know. Now, of course, you know, we modernize those words and turn them into what we want them to be and get out when we have to. And I don't blame people for that. You know, certain situations you just can't stay in. But I tell people when they get married, even with a counselor, I tell them you have to sell out. You have to sell out to one another. You have to put it all on the table, all on the line. So when you look in the mirror at the end of the day, you know, I gave it all. I don't have an escape clause. I don't have a way out. I didn't go into this thinking if this don't do what I want to do, I'm going to leave or she's going to leave. It wasn't always perfect, but hey, we put the work in and we're still here.
Rhonda, when was it that you realized that he was worth the work and the patience?
You know, I met my husband. I had 3 kids already. So when he decided that he would care for me just as well as he cared for my 3 sons, it was more like, okay, do that. And when it really hit me, it's like he took me around his family with my 3 sons. So I'm like, are they saying, okay, oh, why you go and choose this woman with 3 kids? And you know, it was like, okay, what are they saying? What are they talking? Are they talking about me? So when him and the family treated me like I was part of the family, it was like, yeah, I'm in the right place right now. But that doesn't discount all the things he did, you know, in that relationship before we were married. It doesn't discount that. But those struggles and those tests brought us to where we're at today. I would tell anyone, and I'll say, you know, people think that the first 5 years is supposed to be awesome, great, but that's when you're getting ready, really getting to know someone. And yeah, you had them funny feelings that, oh, I just love him, I just love him. But you go through some struggles in them first couple of years when you're getting to know them. Unless you're already like, okay, I've been in this marriage thing before, I know how it goes. So therefore, this is not what I'm doing, and this is how I deserve to be treated. So that is where I learned that he's the one for me, is when his family accepted me for who I was, not just anything out there on the street, or, okay, well, she's just a baby machine or anything like that, that they actually made me a part of their family. And
okay, how long was it from y'all meeting in the club, him taking you to his family, and y'all actually getting married?
Oh, about 2.5 years.
Yes,
About 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And do y'all have children together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a son that's 23, graduating from FAMU this weekend.
All right. Yes.
And I have a daughter that's 14.
Wow.
Just turned 14.
Just
Sunday.
turned 14.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, I'm sitting here smiling inside because of the fact, even without knowing that part of your story, I think you said something that was so powerful. And Rhonda, you said something that I think a lot of women need to hear today. You know, we live in a society that, you know, when we meet people, we might meet people who already have children. In this case, you were young and you have 3 sons. And here Jason comes along. And I have to salute you here, bro. I got to give you all the props in the world.
Yeah.
Because we know society thinking, right? Society thinking, one of the hardest thing for a man to do, a man can accept you with girls more so than he can with boys in many ways. You have 3 sons. And here was this guy here who, and Jason, man, I almost wanted to shout because you said something I think that we should put on a postcard or something. He talked about the fact when a woman sees inside of a man his potential and sees those things that she wants, she has to evaluate and recognize everything may not be complete, but if she's willing to work with them and help mold those things, she'll get what she's been looking for all along. And inside of that, Rhonda, you look at this man here, and here he is, because you know you could have very well said he ain't ready for this, because most brothers wouldn't be ready for this and everything. But the fact that he showed you that not only do I care about you, but listen, this is a package deal. I care about your son, and you know it's big time when a brother take you around his family, right? But, I mean, and then you know he didn't say, "Well, let's go meet my folks, but leave the kids at home," right?
Right.
You know, he brought them as well, which was his statement. He made a statement inside of that somewhere along the line he wasn't just looking to be your boyfriend. You know, he could see a future that possibly could happen there, and I love the way that you guys are always so transparent about the fact of that journey. Because you're talking about those first 5 years, especially the first 2.5 years, you got 2 imperfect individuals who are still learning themselves, now trying to come together. And so it takes that type of work inside of it. And the reality is the fact that I don't think people hear these stories enough. I think people like looking at what they think is the finished product.
Fairy tales.
Yeah, they want to look at the finished product and the fairy tale, but don't understand the sacrifices that was made. You know, sometimes bumping head just to get to know each other, you know, learning different ways. Because you know what I found out the older I get, sometimes we have ways that we didn't realize that we had at one point. And we have these little proclivities to do certain things, and it's my way, you know, and I normally do it 1, 2, 3, and now you come in and you want me to go 2, 3, 1, you know, and you make that work. And the fact that you guys, when I look at the fact of where you guys are now, you know, going to graduations, I was smiling because my daughter did undergrad at FAM, and it was in December when she graduated, so I remember that time. And but having gone through all that and having watched your family grow and have gone through these learning experiences, is there any point that you get to where you realize, hey, this has been worth it all?
Well, for me, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit when you say her having boys was a little more difficult. For me, that was the easier part. Because being raised with father and grandfather and men around me, I knew how to deal with boys.
Wow.
Girl thing
Awesome.
for me, that girl thing for me would have been a whole lot different because you know they're different. But you know, and just realizing that I recognized early on that I had to be very mindful of how I navigated myself around them. I just heard with them because I noticed they watch everything. They will watch everything. They wouldn't say much, but if I moved in the room, they'll come to the next room just to see. If I went outside, they stick their head outside just to see. So I had to make a conscious decision at some point. Okay, if I'm going to be with this young lady, now I have to realize I have to live a life before not just her, but those boys. They realize that this is what it looks like. I tell them all the time, I know you know better because not only did I raise you better, but you saw better. If you decide to go out in the world and do different, that's on you. But you can't tell me you don't know better. So when that part of it for me, it kind of worked out for me because I got this last little girl and she is totally. Oh my goodness.
You know, it's very interesting. Your relationship is so magical. And it is magical because of the fact that, Rhonda, you said that you had went back into the club and then you bought him out. And the fact that you had three young boys and him being a man who had his father and grandfather in his life, it caused him to stand up and shift to be a better man and and walk in his purpose. Would you not say that, Jason?
Yes, because I tell them all the time, it was a actual conscious decision. I mean, like I said, I would be around and they would just follow. I mean, they wouldn't ask, they were afraid to ask me, can they go or but they would just follow. So I would just leave the door open, let them come on. If I'm outside in the yard working, come on out. If I'm doing something, when I go in the room and then watch the TV, I just lay around with them. And I just realized that at that point that, okay, you can't be here and live this other life, life that I was used to, being a single man, young, just out in the world doing whatever. So I had to make that decision and said, okay, if I'm going to be here, then I have to shift, like you say, my mindset and the way I live my lifestyle. And like I told him, it wasn't a choice. It's just something I knew I had to do.
Wow.
I didn't want them to look at a man and say, okay, I get in the world and live, and I don't know what working is. I don't know how to treat a woman. I don't know how to take care of my home. I don't know how to raise my children. I don't know what responsibility is. I didn't want them to have that. For me, is that excuse.
Wow.
And I can tell you, to this day, they call him before they call me. They will call him all day long. They will not. Every now and then, well, Mom, how you doing? But like on the phone constantly, they will reach out to him and talk to him.
I get 3 to 4 calls a day.
Wow.
That's awesome. So, Rhonda, there had to be something inside you that leaped when you met him to know that there was a connection for greatness.
Oh. And I didn't realize that that's what the Lord did. God did for me as far as putting me there, because before him, my oldest kid's father, he was a verbally and mentally, physically abusive. So when I met him, like when he came up to me, I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. So I was like, okay. And as the time went by and the way he treated me was like, just, okay, amazing. And that doesn't include, like, I'm saying the way he treated me as a woman with 3 kids. That was magical enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I really wanted to do or where I wanted to go, he's like, okay, let's go, let's do it. Many times we have people in relationships, but me and I don't care to be seen in public with their wives.
Right.
Just like, why we do that? We won. And one time I heard, well, people may not like you posting about you and your husband all the time. But they're going to get over it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to post about me and my husband. So I can't tell you that we've always shared this. It's about building. It's about growing. And the most part is about we do love each other. So I think it's just been a long time that I had the sparkle. At the beginning, you had them sparkles that you think is real until you go through some things and you be like, so now I wouldn't change them for the world. I wouldn't change them. I told them, and one thing we don't do, we don't talk about divorce. We don't say divorce, that word. We don't even use that word. But I told them, if anything happened to us, whoever you not married, but whoever you get with, they just gonna have to move over. You know, what if somebody else there? I said, well, you better explain to them ahead of time how this relationship goes. So I hope I answered your question without going all around.
Well, what were your expectations of love? Because this is what the show is about. What are the expectations? You know, I know with me, after coming out of domestic violence situation, I wanted someone to love and care about me and the things that I cared about. So,
Right.
what were your expectations?
My
Because a person could always say, I love you, but not be in love with you. I needed someone that I knew without a shadow of a doubt was in love with me, because when you're in love with somebody, you care for them like you care for them more than you care for yourself.
right. And I
So,
think I went into that being like, as we dated, I started going into that feeling that way. Because as I stated before, being treated when you coming out of abusive relationships, sometimes women don't understand that that's not the way it's
that's
supposed
not
to
love.
be,
Hmm.
and it's not love. But because sometimes we wasn't taught that, we figure it's okay, and it's not okay. It's not okay to be physically or mentally abused or controlled. So he was not ever like that. And he made the joke like he take a special man to deal with you. But sometimes they understanding that you come out of broken relationships, that you have to get yourself back together to be loved. So it might have took a minute for him to love me because of that broke relationship I was in. You know how some of us get like, I ain't doing that. I'm not going through that. And nobody's going to put their hands on me and blase, blase. So from point one, when we got to the point where we knew this is what we want, he treated me like a queen.
Hmm.
Treated my boys like they deserve to be treated. Not that they're just, a part of me, but he treated them like they were a part of him.
That's awesome.
I have to say, and you guys may find this so interesting, because I've seen you guys in different spots, different places here and there. But what's always been very interesting to me, and I keep going back to Jason, because as a man, I relate to a man, and I understand that, in the way that I've always seen you, was that type of thing. You're what I call legacy livers. And I think every man ought to be a legacy liver. We understand that we have a legacy that we're passing down. And one might say, well, hold up, those are not his DNA kids, but man, your legacy is strong in their lives, because what you did was that you established with those young men what it was to not only be a man, but you gave them. And I love something you said earlier. You didn't only just teach them, but you showed them. And that's the thing about it today. You showed them three things in one. You showed them, number one, you showed them how to be a man. You showed them how to love a woman. And then you also showed them what it was to take responsibility. And for them, it echoed, as your wife just said, they calling you all the time and stuff like that, because that's where relationship does. Relationship and legacy building type of thing build that way. And I applaud you because of this reason here, is that you all have navigated this thing without having that word in your vocabulary, number one. But secondarily, it's the fact that you're giving each other room to grow with this. And I love it, because I think one of the things that happened, and Dr. Val, you asked the question, what was her expectation? So often people do enter into a relationship as if relationship is a destination.
Hmm.
Just get hooked.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a destination. It's really a journey.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking it out. You're living it out. You're discovering things as you're going along. And I think that's very important. And when I look at you guys, I continuously think about the reality. Some people, and I'm not talking about anybody out there who may be looking at us right now on Facebook, but anyway, but some people, you see them try so hard to project as if we got it together. And when other people, they just simply have substance and it shows. And you guys are substantive people. It shows. It shows in your mannerism. It shows in the way you navigate. It shows inside of that. Because I do think that when we talk about relationship and we are talking about how do people model, you know, did you guys have a ideal, a model in your mind of who you want to pattern your relationship after, or did you kind of, as you went, you know, you begin to think about what is it that we want, and sometimes when we know what we want, we can get there. But so often, if it's just a destination, it's almost like the people who do this. People will invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in a wedding, but nobody invests in a marriage, right? Okay, all right, here's the show, but the wedding is
What
over.
happens after the show?
Yeah, exactly. And you guys, so was there a vision you all had for your relationship, for your marriage, or did you pattern off anybody, or did it just kind of grow together as you grew together? You begin to establish that.
Well, for both of us, really, we were raised in homes that she was raised by our grandparents that were together forever. My parents have been together.
I need a little more volume.
Yeah.
I say we were raised in families that were together for a long time. Like I said, her grandparents were together forever. My mom and dad are going on 60 years.
Wow.
So we had the example in front of us of the longevity. So me going in, I can speak for myself going into a relationship and going into this. My thought process was there was really no exit plan for me. I didn't know what exit plan looked like. So I always said once I decided to be married and to do it, I had to do it in the church. Because the vow I was taking wasn't just to my wife, it was to God. I made that one of the stipulations I had. I want to be married in the church. But secondly was that I want to make sure that as I stood in the gap as a man, as a husband, that I did the things that I saw growing up. My father was a provider. He came home. I didn't have to look for him. I knew where to find him, where to go. He didn't stay at the house all the time, but if I needed to find Dad, I knew I could jump on the bike and go to Mr. Such and Such, and he parked over there. Or and we didn't have cell phones, so he had to be within reach. And to watch him and how he took care of home, how he took care of us as I'm the baby of a bunch, so how he took care of us and how he did those things. So I just kind of took those examples and brought them here, and just kind of 2.0 them. We went through a different time. You have cell phones, you have these things. These kids are a little more smarter than we were when it comes to certain things. And so I just modeled those things, and it worked. And just looking back at it, those were good examples for me. My parents went through things, they dealt with things, but I never once thought that they wasn't going to be together. It just wasn't a thought for me. I just knew every day I come home, mom and dad was going to be together, and I wanted that for my kids.
Wow.
Question for you, Dr. J, and also to you, Jason. As far as your expectations in a mate, I believe that individuals look for someone that can make them better. So what was it for you, Jason, that you saw this woman and, your first look and meeting with her, you didn't know she had 3 children. But what was it about her? What was it? Was it a chemistry, or was it just a knowing? And also for you, Dr. J, because I know for me, like my husband I have now, Alex, I just knew he was the one that could heal this broken heart and this wounded spirit. That I knew that he would never hurt me. I knew that he would never cheat on me, and I knew he would take care of me. So is there something that you can share with the audience for their expectations to be raised in what they're looking for?
Who goes first? Leah.
When you're looking for someone to share your life with.
Well, for me, and with Rhonda, it was the fact that she loved me when she didn't have to. When I would screw up, or I was messed up, or things just wasn't perfect, I wasn't there in that capacity yet. I wasn't mature enough yet. When I say when you're young, you're going to do things, and I realized in other situations that they were there as long as everything was good. But when it got bad or got a little rough, okay, enough of this, I'm gone. My wife wasn't that way. When things, like I say, would go south just for me, she could have easily said, you know what, enough of this. I'm going on about my business, and I couldn't have blamed her. A lot of things we dealt with, a lot of women wouldn't. They were like, you know what, I'm out here. I don't have to deal with this. And she stayed, and she loved me through it, and it meant something to me. And it was early on in our relationship. It didn't take me long to screw up. It wasn't no long journey, but at the end of the day, I looked around and she was still here. And that meant something. Because like we already know, everyone looks for a way out. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to deal with that side of it. So once I realized that she was going to be there and we were willing to go through these things together, it was easy for me. It was easy for me. That was it for me. Well, I said, okay, we good. Let's do this.
Okay. Well, I want to hear from you, Dr. J. And then also, Rhonda, I want you to think about what you would say to young ladies that are compromising who they are instead of being who God wants them to be to empower and encourage their mate.
Wow. Man, I tell you, this is powerful. And I think in answering that question, Dr. Val, I'm going to say this. I think that different stages of a person's life. I mean, if I'm talking to a young person, I so agree with Jason. When we're young, we make a lot of mistakes because we've not been there before. I often say now, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't even think about marriage until I was 28 years old. Now, and I said that only having lived the life, and saying at 22 and 23, and in my case, goodness gracious, at 21, what did I know? Nothing. And so you don't know. You haven't even figured you out yet. A lot of things you don't know whatsoever. And then you have to go back to where do you grab your example? What does that vision come from now? Which is interesting, in my own transparency. My mom and dad was together my whole entire life. They died together. So I didn't see divorce. And for me to go through it was totally so foreign. And I will never forget, for me, it was my biggest moment was being afraid to let my dad know that I had gotten divorced, because they was in Alabama and I was here. Because I understood that I would not be able to boast what I felt that I could boast of him. Always been with my mom, always been inside of that. And so when I talk about that, I talk about, as a man, what is it that you look for in a woman? Because so many times in society, we always make it sound like, well, what the woman's looking for. But men have to have something that's going to also reassure them as well. Jason talked about the fact, her unconditional love, her believing him inside of that. At this stage of life, a man has to have a soft place to land. What do you mean? I do believe that the world, society itself, the demands of society will beat you down. And the one place that you need to be able to find solace is with that person that you're with, so that you don't have to come home and box when you've been boxing and fighting out in the world all alone. So the reassurance of knowing that you're here, watch this, for me, not for my reputation, not for my name, not for my status, not for but for me. In other words, somewhere along the line, the warrior, deep inside this warrior, there's a child, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes to be able to nurture that part of me and understand you're a strong man. And you're still a strong man, even when you don't feel strong. And her responsibility is to continue to speak into your life and say, look, baby, I know that you can. I know that you will. And even when you mess up, I know what's inside of you. And to be able to stand inside of that and to recognize that you are so valuable to me. And she sees your value, that she's willing to say, look here, I'm going to cover my man. And we often talk about men covering women, and that is the natural order of God. But you know what? It's nothing like having a woman that's going to cover you in prayer, a woman that's going to cover you inside of things, a woman who can oftentimes tell that, look here, you need some rest, okay? Just slow it down, brother. And I think that means a lot in this point in time, that we are more than what we do. We are human beings. And for the woman that can see that inside of you and help nurture that and help mold that, that speaks a lot. And that speaks strength, that speaks assurance.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dr. J. Now, Rhonda, I know the ladies are sitting waiting because they want to know what you have to say about this. Because, like I said, a lot of women take a lot of abuse for the sake of love. But what are some limits? And you worked with Jason, but y'all were young. I feel that when you're at a certain age, it shouldn't be that much of a fight because, when you're a certain age, you have your certain ways. So you should already know if you're going to be able to deal with the capacity of this person that you're with, because when they tell you who they are, you have to believe them. But you have to know or be in a mindset if this is where you want to go and where you want to live your twilight years. So if you could talk about those stages of boundaries, that would be helpful, I think, to young women.
Well, first I would say knowing yourself, build yourself up. You can't help who he is and what he does. You got to know who you are and what you need to do for you.
Yes.
And everything else will fall in line. Put yourself, if you are married, put yourself around other positive married couples. You can't go out there talking about I'm finna hang with this single friend of mine every weekend. That's not gonna work for you or your mate. So be mindful of those. That's not saying that you can't hang with a single friend, because my best friend is single. So that's not saying you can't be with them sometime, but no, sometimes put yourself around positive couples that love on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing is love yourself. Put yourself in the way that you want to be treated by the way you treat yourself. You cannot treat yourself bad or think you are nobody or think you this. And a lot of times women go through that, because I went through that for a long time in my life. Like, I was told, nobody's going to want you with 3 kids. Then I had to realize, look who told me that. The man that got me 3 kids. So,
yeah, right. I was told the same thing. I have 4. Who gonna want 4 kids? I'm like, okay.
So be wise of what you let being fed into your spirit. Mm-hmm. If somebody can continue to give you that negativity about who you are, you need to put yourself around somebody else. Mm-hmm. You just definitely need to just say, this ain't for me today, maybe next week. But when I come back to you next week, can you have something positive to say about me? So that's how I look at it. Just be encouraged and know that you are somebody. And this is what I was told by my cousin. And Dr. Thicklin, you probably know my cousin, Tracy Graham.
Absolutely.
And she said to me, because I was wondering, this was before I even met my husband. And I was like, well, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And she told me, she said, you are somebody because God don't make junk. Mm-hmm. And that right there stuck with me, and I moved on from it. And it's an everyday process of building yourself up. It don't happen overnight. So if you are expecting that espresso It's not there. You have to continue to do that to yourself. As when my daughter was, I'm going to pre-K every morning. When I get ready to drop her off, I always tell her that we have these positive affirmation, and I am somebody, and I'm smart, I'm beautiful, and because we want these young girls to know that they're smart and they're beautiful. Don't listen to what they are saying out there. And sometimes men folks can be so mean. I will put it that way. So mean. And to be honest, they're saying that because they don't want anybody else to want you. They want you to stay damaged. And that is something I learned from experience. I never thought that God would put somebody in my life like my husband. Wow. And I always tell people, I went through so much early on in life.
Yes.
That right now we have no choice but to be happy.
My.
We at the age that we don't want to be coming home arguing and carrying on, and I can give you a little story. I never really tell people this, but I used to get upset, like early on in our marriage, and I used to get upset, and it wasn't really about me and him. It was the children, and he always was side with the children and the children. So I would say I would pack up me an overnight bag, and I just go to the hotel, just like I just need a breather. But when I got to the hotel, probably like 3 hours later, 4 hours later, I'm calling him. He coming to the hotel, so so it was just like, and I would tell other couples as well, is get that quality time.
Yeah.
When we had the kids and they were younger, I had my grandmother that was so helpful, and once a month we would just go right to Miami for the weekend and spend that time together. That was our talk time because nobody's there. The kids are not there. Nobody's there. We have that quality time. We walk around Miami and do what we need to do. But that was our time. And I think those times help build us up to where we are today.
Awesome.
I think that in relationships, the reason why they clash, this is just my opinion, is because people really don't know who they are. And they're looking for that individual to complete them when they should already be completed when they meet that individual. So I was writing down some notes. I said, we have to know who we are, and we have to respect who we are. How can we expect that person to respect us when we don't respect ourselves? One of the things that grieves me to no end is when I hear women call themselves bees. I'm like, really? You refer to yourself and other women as bees, so that is the limitations that you put on yourself. You don't see yourself being nothing more than that.
Right.
So you got to respect yourself, and you got to love yourself. Love yourself enough to care for yourself mentally as well. Empower, strengthen that mind and your spirit, and take care of your bodies. I hear a lot of women when they're pleasingly plump, they're like, yes, somebody's going to love all this. Yeah, somebody can love all that, but then they don't want the stuff that goes along with it, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and, taking care of you because you're not taking care of yourself. We must take care of ourselves. I was skinny all my life, and I was drinking Ensure to try and gain some weight. Now I get married and I gain 20 pounds. I got to do something about this.
Well,
Not 20.
You got married and you gained 20 pounds. That's because you was happy.
Not 20, 15 pounds, but still.
In my course of being married, his mom made these fabulous cakes, and I think when I met my husband, I was 130 pounds. I wish I could get right there. But he always said nobody wants a skinny lady. Well, he doesn't want a skinny, so I can speak for that. But you get comfortable.
Yeah.
But that's one
But
thing
we have to take care of ourselves. And so when we can't allow ourselves, to let ourselves go, because we're depressed, because we feel that nobody like us, nobody love us because of the way we look, we have to love and respect ourselves and empower ourselves in our minds. You want a career, build on that career, occupy yourself until he comes. So when he does find you, you're already secure in who you are. And I think that's one of the things that attracted Jason to you, was that you were already a seasoned woman. You knew what you wanted and your expectations were high. But yet you saw this young man that could add and you could build with. And that's one of the things that people don't look at when they're looking for a mate. They're saying, well, I need him to do this and I need her to be this and do that. And it doesn't work that way. If you find someone that's going on the same road as you, where you feel you can build a financial and mental empire, then it is worth the work. Yes, all relationships are work. It takes work. And that's one of the things that I think television has lied to people, thinking that it's supposed to be this way. And some people are full of drama because they're watching these reality shows and thinking this is the life and this is how it goes. But it is not real.
Right.
They're miserable. They're seeing psychiatrists. Why would you watch that and pattern yourself after it? So, what are your expectations of love? Where are you going? Where do you want to go? Not where are you going and where do you want to go? Where do you envision yourself and see yourselves in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s? Are you going to be bumping around in the dark trying to find that light bulb?
Well, I'm already 50, so I am bumping already.
So we have to really enlighten and empower these individuals that are single, and those that are married. Y'all have a Facebook page you want to share with individuals, and a website where they can find out more about you and how to connect with you, so that they can get some information to take them on their journey.
Yes, we do a monthly talk called Let's Talk, and where we bring on other couples that just a positive role model in their community, or mentors. So I think last in November we were honored in Georgia for what we do. And,
Awesome.
we I think next the 19th we will be doing one with the 4 couples that we have had on since we started, and we all going to be on, and we're going to be talking about marriage and holiday conversations. So that will be on our Facebook page, Let's Talk with the Turners. And we also have a website called it's the number 4 knowledgeispower.org. And you can see some of the things that we have done, and we revamping. So in 2022, a lot of things will be updated, change, and you'll be like, wow, some things going on here. So just be looking for in 2022, we have some upcoming events and activities that will be going on with marriage and with youth.
Yes.
I know that, I don't know if she knows, but for about 17, 18 years, I've been doing college and historical tours where we take youth teams around the world looking at HBCUs and historical college. One of my
That's
things
awesome.
is a lot of kids don't know where they come from. So we have to give them their history. If they don't know where they come from, how do they know where they're going?
Absolutely.
It's very important that they understand that. So I do all the planning for that.
And I do all the work.
And that's www, the number 4 knowledgeispower.org. That is so powerful, and I salute the work that you're doing. And also, you said you're on Facebook. Is it every week or once a month?
Once a month right now we
Okay.
are, and we're doing it on the 19th with the 4 couples that we have, some positive couples.
What's the name of the Facebook?
Let's Talk with the Turners.
Let's Talk with the Turners. So y'all
Mhm.
look it up. Let's Talk with the Turners, so that you can follow them and get more information, because I'm sure they have a wealth of information that will help take you to the next level of love.
And we also do counseling.
Yep.
We have couples from all over. It's not like a local
Right.
counseling. We have couples that we do Zoom.
Zoom is a
Counseling.
great thing. Zoom is a great thing.
It is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And we have to
Telecounseling.
understand it takes more than just us out here to do this work. We have to show them positivity, married couples out here, because everybody think, we don't walk around like we're perfect, because we're not perfect. We just worked at it.
Yes.
So understand there's no perfect marriage out there. You
Now,
have to
Rhonda, we're
at it.
almost out of time, but I want you and Jason to answer this question, because we have a lot of women that have children,
Mhm.
and they're looking for a mate, or they're in relationships with individuals, and they have their children and stuff. What would you say as it relates to them, and and Jason, how did you kind of come in and submit that relationship where it created a balance, where because some women like, you're not going to tell me what to do with my kids, and we've been doing this long enough, da 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 da. So Rhonda, if you can speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, well, when I saw the way he treated my sons, it wasn't hard for me. I can give you an example. One day he took my sons with him to his mom's house, and he came back and he was like, it was one that he was finna beat, and I was like, oh, what happened? Like, what took place? And then he told me what took place, and he beat him. But after he beat him, he talked to him and he told him why this happened and why he had to do what he did. So I trusted him with them. I trusted him more with them than I did with the relationship at first. So that was not a problem for me. He accepted. I was the type of woman that wasn't anybody going to be around my kids. So I peeped that in him before we even got to where we did with him meeting my kids.
You
I
trusted
remember I
him.
had him to take my sons to my sister, and my sister hadn't met him. And she goes and he drops them off, and she called me. As soon as he left, she was like, who is this dropping off these boys? And I was like, that's Jason. He's good. So now you can't, brother-in-law, can you do this, brother-in-law? So even my family put him on a pedestal, even before my grandmother passed. This is just her son. She just loved him.
Right.
And I think it helped because how he came in. He came in, no, like I said, no division. And that helps. People get in relationships. They have to accept you and your children if you have children.
Absolutely.
It's not just about you. You have to have a peaceful home. So he has to love your kids just as well as he loved you.
But one thing I can also say before we get off is she allowed me to love her boys. She allowed me to be able to chastise them and do those things. I didn't ask for permission. I was never the type to say, I'm going to ask you, can I? That was never that's just not my style. I'm going to take care of them. If they with me, they with me. I don't call them step. No one has ever heard me call my boys step anything. I'm going to feed you, love you, take care of you, just like your mine. I don't step anything because I'm not going to step feed you. I'm not going to step take care of you.
Yes.
Basketball games, parent conference meetings, all that stuff, I'm going to be there. But it was able to happen because she allowed it. She was able to say, okay, I'm willing to take my hands off and allow you to raise my boys to be men. Now, that didn't mean she didn't ask questions. That didn't mean we didn't have discussions.
Exactly.
That didn't mean we didn't talk about things. A lot of times she didn't like the way I may have disciplined, but we didn't let them know that. We'd go in the room, we'd close the door, explain what's going on, Sometimes it was heated, sometimes it wasn't. But when we came out, guess what they saw? A unified front. They didn't know no different. All they know was that mom and dad came out their room and ain't nothing changed for me. So it was still the same way for me. And so it made it easy. It makes that transition easy. So I tell any young lady out there, if you got a young man that's willing and that wants to, and allow him to be that figure. Don't put the handcuffs on him, because if you don't trust him with yours, how can you trust him with you?
Powerful.
You know, if he can't trust him with what's the most valuable thing in your life, how you gonna trust him with your life?
Wow.
You know, so that's just how I look at it.
Well, that is powerful, and that's one of those things there that, you know what, because couples are different, we come in different shape and form, we meet people at different stages in their life. That is something what you just said there that needs to be added into somebody's book, because that's exactly what we're talking about there. You know, you can cause ripples in the relationship if there's no trust here. If you expect me to walk with you inside of it, you got to trust me. But you know what? It is obvious that, JC, you earned her trust too. It is obvious that you displayed a character and a disposition about you that she could trust inside of that. And that goes a long way. So I want to make sure the guys out there that are listening will recognize that too. You just don't come in kicking down the door and boy, you string up somebody from the roof. No, not at all. No one, you know, they need to know that you care. They need to know that you have the best interests at heart. And it makes that a whole lot easier to manage. And what can I say? You guys have been fantastic. I knew you all had to go, but this was good. This was very rich.
And thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so
much.
excited, and I thank you so much for joining the show. And the audience, please follow them on www for knowledge, the number 4, knowledgeispower.org, and also on their Facebook page. It is
Let's talk with the Turners.
Let's Talk with the Turners. And love, love, love. Everyone has their own expectations. Everybody wants to be loved. Everyone needs love. But love affects our past, our present, our future. Love is an emotion, a gift that's given to us from God. And it should never, ever hurt. Good night and God bless.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.